Welcome to the Layover. Holy shit, we fired Thibs, bro. The Knicks fired Thibs. Crazy. I'm not even surprised though, because watching this team for the last couple of years, it was becoming obvious. And after this year, we seen, a lot of the outrages. Well, they made the Eastern Conference Finals. The Knicks are 2 games away from the finals. Yada yada yada. But if you've been watching the Knicks, you know that this was coming. I thought it was going to be next year personally, but here we are. We're a year early with this. And the crazy thing is like I'm watching like, so I ran to like the sports shows because I woke up with that. My phone was, hey man, you're fired, Thibs is fired, all this other shit. And I go run to ESPN and I'm seeing all these guys outraged, and I'm like, man, y'all been calling for this man job for like a year now. So what's the surprise? And I think it was a surprise because it happened now, but it wasn't a surprise because the writing was on the wall. A lot of the complaint was the rotation in the players' minutes and playing 6, 7, 8, 7 deep really. And it seemed like we ran out of gas. Every year we seemed to run out of gas. A lot of the injuries, I know, like some of the injuries wasn't his fault. Brunson breaking his hand wasn't his fault. That was a freak injury. Randall last year, destroying his shoulder. Homeboy Jaime Jaquez from Miami took a crazy charge that was unnecessary as hell while Randall was in the middle of going up for a layup, so that wasn't his fault. But a guy like Josh Hart looked burnt out last year. He even looked a little burnt out this year. I feel like all those guys were burnt out. The writing became on the wall for me when I seen Mike Malone get fired. Now, Mike Malone, I see a lot of like, Mike Malone is the same guy. Mike Malone doesn't play the young guys. And my kind of my pushback would be is, who was he supposed to play in Denver that was young? Like, who was he supposed to play? Clearly the Porter Jr., making him sit and all that, because I seen shit where he didn't play Michael Porter Jr. And it's like, well, he wasn't playing defense. So he got it ended up working out because Porter plays. He became a key player in that championship run that Denver had. So I know that's a name, Johnny Bryant. That's not a name for most to know. He was on the Knicks staff. Not last year, but the year before he was on our staff, and then he ended up leaving and going to Cleveland. And so now he's a name that's out there. So I think those are the 2 guys that we gotta watch. I see like Ime Udoka, and that's not happening. Houston ain't letting him go. They ain't crazy. They know what's going on. They're not letting him go. So, back to the point of like, it was the writing on the wall. The writing was on the wall when Mike Malone got fired. To me, that's when I was like, okay, Thibs might be in trouble. Now, the goal for the Knicks this year was to beat the Boston Celtics. Boston's was gold standard. You seen how excited everybody was. You seen how the fan base went crazy. And it was because in our brain, once we beat Boston, it was green lights. That's how it looked. Like, it's green lights now. We beat Boston. We should go beat the hell out of Indiana. We get our revenge tour. And then, we go and see what we all thought was going to be Oklahoma City. Once Oklahoma City beat Denver, I thought it was going to be Oklahoma City. So to go in and beat Boston and then come back and then lose to the Pacers, a team we just lost to last year. Now, I've seen a lot of like, you can't blame him for, them having a collapse, but that's been a thing with our team, for real. That's been a thing. But for me, it was really about the rotations and not taking chances. It's like Thibs like would get stuck with something that worked, and then you won't see no type of like adjustment as far as like, it just wouldn't be any risk taking, or even just just something different, a little wrinkle. Like, Carlisle threw a guy in there that was on a 10-day contract 2 months ago and threw him in the Eastern Conference Finals because he needed a body. And I remember watching that and saying, and I feel like I said that in one of these videos, probably around that time. But I watched that and I said, why doesn't Thibs do that? Like, just give us somebody that's going to give us a couple minutes of just something just to see. I was really confused why there was no Precious Achiuwa in the Indiana series, when that's a team he thrives against. Now, Boston, I kind of understood, but I didn't understand it against Indiana. I'm like, why is Precious Achiuwa not playing? I was wondering where the hell Landry Shamet went after he was on fire at the end of April. He played, it felt like 2 minutes, And he played 2 minutes in the Detroit series, and then we never saw him again. DeLon Wright, he came in when Brunson was hurt at the end of April. When Brunson was hurt in March and April, DeLon Wright came in and gave us good minutes. He's a 3-and-D guy. He's been around. He's a veteran dude. He's been there. He's got experience. Why are you not playing this guy? And so it was just things like that. I'm like, what are we doing? And when Mikal Bridges came out and started complaining about the minutes, that's really when the writing became on the wall. Because I'm like, wait a minute. Like, that had never been a thing throughout the time that Thibs has been here. So I began to think, like, maybe he's speaking for everybody and nobody else wants to say it. So he's the guy that just said, all right, I'll say it. I feel bad for Thibs for sure. I definitely like removing the business side of it. Because Leon Rose is ice cold. Leon Rose is ice cold, man. The Knicks organization is ice cold. This isn't even the casual NBA fan, basketball fan that doesn't watch the Knicks, and I understand that. They would know, like, Leon Rose don't care. There's no emotion to this. It's just ice cold business. And when it came out with the statement that, you know, this is about winning the championship, I did feel bad for Thibs. Because at the end of the day, like, when Thibs got here, he said this was his dream job. Thibs been on the staff before. He was on the 99 team. Like, Thibs has been on the staff. He's a New Yorker. Like, it was his dream job. And I wanted him to succeed because you see a guy living his dream. He's living his dream. This is the job he wanted. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out like that. I'm not going to dance on Thibs' grave. I feel like that's corny because we were garbage before Thibs got there. I knew when we got Thibs, I knew at least, if anything, the foundation was going to be built. And for the last couple of years, it felt like he was a bridge guy. Like he was a guy that came and built the culture, but it just seemed like we weren't going to get to the top. Like it just didn't seem like we would get to the top. Like I said, it's not about him. He's a brilliant coach. He's a brilliant basketball mind. He knows more basketball than I probably ever would. I know he knows more basketball than I ever would in my lifetime. But unfortunately, it just hit a point where we peaked out. And the front office recognized that. I see a lot of blaming James Dolan. James Dolan ain't got nothing to do with what's going on. I feel like that's such a bullshit cop-out now because we ain't seen James Dolan since Leon Rose arrived. And anybody that paid attention to the Knicks, James Dolan's been trying to get the fuck out of the way since he hired Phil. He's been trying to get the fuck out of the way. And yeah, Dolan had his things, and I know the Charles Oakley thing is still a thing. The Oak thing, that's still a thing. But the one thing I always liked about Dolan is he was going to spend that money to try to get a contender. Whether he spent the money in the right places, that's up for debate. But I always thought that Dolan gave a fuck about the Knicks winning. I feel like, I think that it's just a cop-out. It's a cop-out. It is a cop-out to blame Dolan. Oh, here we go, same old Knicks. And sometimes you got to understand, like, sometimes there's situations where a coach might come in and build and we feel bad for the guy that built it, but then there's a guy that just takes it over the top. It's throughout history of the league, there's been times where a guy would step in. Doug Collins had that thing going on with the Bulls. Phil Jackson comes in. Rick Carlisle, shout out to Rick Carlisle, going to the finals, championship coach. He coached the Pistons before Larry Brown got there, and Larry Brown came in and they won the championship. Sometimes that just happens. Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson is the most recent one. That's been a debate since Mark Jackson got fired. That's been a thing since Mark Jackson got fired. So I think that it's a lot of overreaction because there was a lot of, everybody likes Thibs. But I believe that the front office has earned the right to get the trust. Have they made every perfect move? No. There's been moves that didn't work out, that didn't pan out. Right now, everybody's on, the whole five picks from Mikal Bridges thing. And I feel like that's a factor because Mikal Bridges is up for an extension. And if he's talking about not playing for Thibs, so it's like you did all that for what? So I feel like a lot of moves are going to be made. That was the first domino to fall. Shout out to Thibs. He brought us back to relevancy. He brought us back to respectability. He brought a culture. The main thing is he brought a culture. And not only did he bring a culture, he revived like the spirit of the Knicks. The Knicks historically have always been great when we play with toughness, grit, heart. Like Knicks basketball is toughness. It's based on toughness. Whether it's the 70s Knicks, it's team ball and toughness. It's the 70s Knicks or it's the 90s Knicks. It's tough basketball. I never went into games thinking, damn, we ain't got a chance against this team tonight. Or how the hell are we going to win this one? Like, I always went into a game. I knew my team was going to fight. I know they were going to play hard as hell. They were going to be prepared. And they were going to be ready to go. Now, like I said, at some point, everybody got wore out. And we peaked out. You know, when you beat Boston, we supposed to be in the finals right now. So, in the end, he had a 5-year run. In the NBA, look around. There's not many coaches that have been in their teams for longer than 5 years. So I'm looking at Mike Malone, I'm looking at Johnny Bryant. Those are the two guys that I'm looking for. Hopefully we make the right move and hopefully this pans out. But a lot of fans gotta look too. It's an open window next year. The open window is because Boston going to be out. They might, depending on what type of moves Boston makes, we can assume Boston's not going to be Boston next year. They're not going to have Tatum. They're gonna be different next year. You gotta look at it as a Knicks fan and say, man, it's really us in Indiana. No disrespect to Cleveland, but I think Cleveland is a regular season team. I didn't believe in them this year. I never drunk that Kool-Aid. I never believed in them. I always felt like they were a regular season team. Also, I felt like if they're going to do anything for real, obviously they got hurt during the Indiana series and stuff like that. Guys were hurt. But I feel like if they're going to do anything, it's going to depend on Mobley taking the next step. Mobley's got to be even better next year. As great as he was this year, he's got to be even better next year. I feel like that's outside looking in. I'm not a Cavs fan, but outside looking in, it would seem that Mobley got to turn into something else for them to take the next step. So it's a lot of outrage. And then you got the Giannis thing going on. Now, I know for us it's a long shot, but it could happen. So you got to look at it like this. We got to refresh things. We peaked out. We made it to where we're going to make. I'm going to keep saying that. We peaked out. It is what it is. I'm not dancing on Thibs' grave. I didn't like that shit no way. Because I'm like, man, the thing is like the Knicks fans that get the notoriety for that, some of them ain't really been here. They don't really understand. Like, Thibs is the best coach I've ever seen for the Knicks. I was young when Van Gundy was around, but he's the best coach that I've seen for the Knicks. So I'm extremely grateful for everything that Thibs did. I kind of hope that they even keep him in a front office role or something just to keep him around, because in the end, I feel like maybe it's a little emotional, but I feel like he should be around for whatever's coming forward. Because at the end of the day, he did build this shit. Where, jokes, brick by brick. He built this shit. This team was built for him, but it ran its course, and that's okay. That's okay. Now we figure out, we move on. Another example was Dwayne Casey and Nick Nurse. Obviously, Nick Nurse, they ended up getting Kawhi Leonard, so that probably changed a lot, But maybe Nick Nurse was the one that had to take Toronto over the top. So sometimes you just got to make a change, man. I just appreciate that the Knicks are a front office that are not afraid to make changes. And that's the front office being willing to do that is why Thibs is not coaching us any longer, because he wasn't afraid. It seemed like, I don't want to say afraid, but it seemed like he wasn't going to throw no wrinkles in. So here we are. So shout out to Thibs, man. Shout out to Leon Rose, because he got my faith. He got my faith. Like I said, the man ain't doing everything perfect, but this is the best these last 5 years and the build up towards where we gotten has been amazing as a Knicks fan, because I've been waiting for so long to be in the mix. Like, in the mix. Nobody, like, we in the conversation now, and they not fucking around. So we'll see what goes forward. I'm excited to see what type of moves we make next. I'm excited to see who we grab as a coach. I'm excited to see what type of moves they try to make in the summer in order to chase this championship. Because it's green lights, man. It's green lights out east. And the Knicks cannot afford to blow this window with the East being as wide open as it is. Thank y'all for listening. Orange and blue skies. I know I got red on and all that other shit, but orange and blue skies, man. Y'all have a good one.